Because some journeys are better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Chatting this morning about training, and we go into our fitness slot at the moment, and rest days can sometimes feel like we're slacking off, especially when we are chasing some fitness goal or we want to achieve a weight or a muscle tone or something that we have set ourselves to do. But recovery is an important part of getting stronger, improving performance, and also reducing the risk of injury. And this morning we speak to personal trainer Matthew Cornish about why rest is just as important as the workout that we put out in the gym. Matthew, a very good morning to you and welcome to the Early Breakfast Show.
Good morning, Zain. Thank you for having me.
I always see people who run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I'm thinking to myself, your body actually does need to rest, but for someone chasing a fitness goal, how do you balance pushing yourself and giving your body enough time to sort of recover? Because I think, I'm not mistaken, high rocks, I saw boards up at the CTICC for high rocks. And, do you actually really need to put your body through that, Matthew?
Yeah, so for everyone it's different. Everyone has a different training stimulus, and many individuals, I back all these different types of fitness events and fitness participation modules that are coming out now, because it's always a good thing to see people exercising more. The biggest thing that people need to realize is that with all the stress you're putting onto your body through exercise, which is good stress, you need to have the right rest protocols in place so that you can actually benefit from what you're doing. So if you're doing high rocks or if you're running, make sure that you have the same amount of rest that you are doing training, and then you'll have the perfect balance and be able to, reap the rewards, as opposed to overtraining and putting yourself in a position where you might have a higher risk of injury, or you might not be able to be as consistent as you'd like to be. So that's always my golden trick. Like, if you can balance it like 60-40 or 50-50, it's quite difficult to do 50-50, so I always try and do like a 60-40, 70-30 split, because you don't need that much rest as opposed to your training, because you also need to make sure that when you do train, you have the right load management. And with the right load management, that means that you won't always be pushing the needle to red. You'll be doing like a low to moderate session, then a moderate to high, then back to a low to moderate. So then, even when you do your rest day, it doesn't mean that you can't do anything at all. You can still go for a walk. You can still do some other leisure activity. So, yeah.
What happens to our muscles when we actually give our muscles time to recover? And as I said, there is High Rocks happening in Cape Town this weekend. It is such a hyped event, and it's such a very intense event that people feel they need to start putting in the training long before the time and just pushing themselves into that needle, into the red situation. But what happens to our muscles when we sort of give them time to recover and to reset, Matthew?
Yeah, so it all starts with the training, essentially. So when you do a training session, or when you do a number of training sessions altogether, the first thing that you see is that there is a physiological change, and there is a change to your circulation and your breathing rate. So those are the first steps that take place. From there onwards, the stress that your body gets put through breaks down the muscle fibers. And when you recover, it allows everything to kind of come back together. And not only are you recovering through your muscles, but you are recovering mentally and emotionally as well, because it links. It's the same thing as like going to step up for an event and you feel all this nerves and butterflies in your stomach. And there's a difference between an individual that has done the proper rest, that can take that and use it within their stride, and an individual that doesn't have the proper rest protocols that actually allows that to overcome their day and it affects their performance completely. So I believe that the rest is super important in allowing the muscles and the mind to become aligned, so that when you think a certain thing, or when you have a goal in mind to reach a certain performance, your muscles and your body can align with that, and you can perform exactly how you think. So it's almost about staying on the same page in that sense.
I think it's essential to have a rest day, and a rest day doesn't necessarily mean that you do absolutely nothing. You can still take a walk and, just keep your muscles nice and warmed up. We're chatting to Matthew Cornish this morning as a personal trainer. Are you training too hard? And the case for a rest day. Matthew, can people lead to injury, or can people get injured if they skip this rest day? So as you said, to align your mind and your body together during that rest day is very, very important. And if you skip that rest day and you just push yourself and pushing that needle into the red, can that be a risk of injury?
Yes, it can indeed. And the thing that I tell clients all the time is that you'll never know until it happens. So you won't know how much you've pushed or if you've overpushed until you've actually injured yourself. So it's a very fine line. That's why I always say, even if you're feeling good, take the rest, because then why not feel better? Why push yourself when you are going into a deficit, when you can have that extra percentage of energy, rest, and then go the next day with 110% as opposed to 80%. It's almost like having a fail-safe, because you can train 3 or 4 days in a row at a moderate to high intensity, take your rest day, feel good, go the next day, and then perform optimally. Or if you miss that rest day, you could go into that session training as normal. Then afterwards you feel, it feels like I've pulled a muscle here, pulled a muscle there. I can't think of anything that I've done wrong. And sometimes you wouldn't have done any exercise wrong or any technique wrong, but it would just be that your body has overexerted itself and there's no way back from there.
Matthew Cornish, personal trainer, chatting to us. And are you training too hard? You need to probably take a rest day, and Matthew's advice is take the rest day to align your body and your mind and just sort of re-earth yourself and bring yourself back down to earth. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Matthew Cornish, a personal trainer.